It's before dawn on February 24th, 2022. The sky above Kiev blinks with eerie flashes. Then, boom! A thunderous blast. The Ukrainian capital is under attack. In cities across Ukraine, people wake up to the sound of explosions and sirens. Russia has launched a massive, full-scale invasion, the largest military conflict Europe has seen since World War II. For Ukrainians, this is a nightmare come alive. For the world, it's a crisis on an unimaginable scale. But the seeds of this war were planted years before the first missiles struck. To understand why this is happening, we need to rewind to the sparks that ignited the Ukrainian-Russian War. Ukraine and Russia share a complex history. After the Soviet Union collapsed in 1991, Ukraine became an independent nation. For decades, it struggled between aligning with the democratic West or staying in Russia's orbit. Tensions simmered beneath the surface, rooted in culture, language, and geopolitics. Many Ukrainians looked westward, aspiring to join the European Union and NATO, while Russia's leaders viewed Ukraine as a brotherly nation that should never turn its back on Moscow. By 2013, these tug-of-war pressures came to a head. Ukraine's president at the time, Viktor Yanukovych, abruptly rejected a major trade deal with the European Union in favor of closer ties to Russia. That decision sparked outrage. Ukrainians who dreamed of a European future saw their hopes dashed by Kremlin influence. Almost overnight, Kiev's Independence Square was flooded with protesters. They were students, workers, parents, united by anger at corruption and a desire for democracy. They waved Ukrainian and EU flags, shouting for Yanukovych to step down. Through the freezing winter of 2013, protesters built a tent city in central Kyiv. Clashes with riot police turned deadly in February 2014 when government snipers opened fire. In a few terrifying days, nearly 100 protesters were killed on the Maidan. The bloodshed proved too much. On February 22, 2014, President Yanukovych fled Ukraine, and a new pro-Western government took charge in Kyiv. Ukraine's revolution of dignity had triumphed, but it set the stage for a furious backlash from the Kremlin. Within days, mysterious soldiers in unmarked uniforms and referred to as Russia's Little Green Men seized Crimea. A rushed, widely rejected referendum followed, and Russia annexed the peninsula. Soon after, pro-Russian separatists, backed by Moscow, rose in the Donbas region, Donetsk and Luhansk provinces. War erupted. For 8 years, fighting simmered. Trenches scarred the landscape. Over 14,000 people were killed before 2022. The world paid attention, occasionally, but the conflict became a distant, frozen war. Until it wasn't. By late 2021, Russia massed over 100,000 troops around Ukraine, from Crimea to Belarus. Putin demanded that NATO pull back its forces in Eastern Europe and never admit Ukraine. Diplomacy failed. On February 24, 2022, Putin announced a special military operation, a euphemism for a full invasion. Missiles rained down across the country. Analysts predicted Kiev would fall in days. Instead, Ukraine shocked the world. President Vladimir Zelensky refused to flee, famously saying, "I need ammunition, not a ride." Ordinary Ukrainians fought back. Russian convoys were ambushed, supply lines collapsed. By late March, Russia's assault on Kiev had stalled and retreated. As Ukrainian forces liberated towns like Bucha, they uncovered mass atrocities, executions, torture, mass graves, evidence that horrified the world. Russia did capture territory in the south, including Mariupol, after a brutal months-long siege that killed tens of thousands. By summer, Western aid, especially HIMARS rockets, shifted the balance. In September, Ukraine launched a lightning counteroffensive, liberating huge areas around Kharkiv. In November, Russia retreated from Kherson, the only regional capital it had taken. Putin responded by drafting reservists and launching massive strikes on Ukraine's energy grid, aiming to freeze the population into submission. By 2023, the war became a brutal war of attrition. The longest, bloodiest battle was over Bakhmut, where months of fighting cost tens of thousands of lives. Russia began using Iranian drones to strike cities at night. A major dam, Kakhovka, was destroyed, flooding communities and causing an environmental disaster. Globally, energy and food prices spiked. NATO expanded. Sanctions hit Russia, though not enough to end the war. Western aid to Ukraine grew. Modern tanks, air defense systems, promises of F-16. In June 2023, Vladimir Putin faced an internal crisis. Yevgeny Prigozhin, leader of the Wagner mercenary group, launched a dramatic mutiny, seizing a major Russian city and marching toward Moscow. For 24 hours, Russia seemed on the brink of civil war. Then, just as suddenly, the rebellion ended with a negotiated deal. Prigozhin later died in a suspicious plane crash. The mutiny exposed cracks in Putin's control and in Russia's war effort. In the summer of 2023, Ukraine launched a major counteroffensive, but Russia had dug in. Millions of mines, trenches, concrete defenses. Progress was slow and costly. Ukraine liberated villages, but not the dramatic breakthrough the world hoped for. By late 2023, the front lines hardened. The war became a high-tech stalemate, marked by drones, artillery, and attrition. More than 6.9 million Ukrainians fled as refugees. Cities like Mariupol, Bakhmut, and Irpin were reduced to rubble. The UN recorded over 53,000 civilian casualties by 2025. Families were torn apart, entire towns emptied, and reports of forced deportations and repression in occupied areas continued to emerge. Inside Russia, families also felt the toll as mobilization dragged more men to the front. Internationally, the war became a test of the post-World War II world order, whether borders can be changed by force. By 2024 to 2025, neither side made breakthroughs. Russia still occupies about 20% of Ukraine. Both armies were exhausted, but still fighting. Sanctions wore on Russia. Ammunition shortages strained Ukraine and its allies. North Korean forces were reportedly deployed to support Russia. Meanwhile, diplomacy re-entered the picture. In 2025, newly inaugurated U.S. President Donald Trump met Putin in Alaska. They drafted a controversial 20-point peace plan. Zelensky agreed to discuss it, but key details, especially regarding territory, remained unresolved. By late 2025, talks continued, but the guns did too. As of late 2025, the Ukrainian-Russian war remains unsettled. Ukraine has shown extraordinary unity and resilience. Russia has shown its determination and its vulnerability. The world has been reminded how fragile peace can be. Whether this ends with a peace treaty, a breakthrough, or a long frozen conflict, one truth remains. Ukraine's fight for its freedom is not over. As Zelensky said among the ruins of his country, "We will endure, we will overcome." This is the story so far, a tragedy still unfolding, but also a testament to human resistance in the face of overwhelming force.